There needs to be a conversation on top of all those numbers on the visuals in that actual content itself.
Yes. So here's the interesting part, right? Like when I'm starting with a client, we do spend some time on branding.
Yeah.
I believe that it has to meet a certain standard before we can kind of go too much further, right? There's some conversation around what does this stuff need to look like? So I've shared this before, but interestingly enough, the anti-branding branding person, the show marketing stuff came from customer interviews because after working with 350, 400 entrepreneurs, most of the time when they're talking about this, they're saying, I don't understand this marketing stuff, or the marketing stuff is complicated. And so like, we just took the name from that. So there's some context that I feel like my client or customer has to come to the table with. So like right now, I just sent a proposal off and we're talking about email marketing, right?
Okay.
And
I am very familiar.
Part of the crux of that, I'm a numbers and testing guy, but most of what we're talking about when we get into that is stories.
Yeah.
And so even though I'm a performance marketer, I do believe in the necessity behind having the creative piece align with your customer and what your customer expects. And then also making sure that there's that consistency across the different pieces of content so that it makes sense.
See, I think right there, you could use that as a definition of branding. Right? I think that's where people really get confused is they're not really sure on what branding is, right? They're like, it's a logo. And I'm like, there are multiple parts to a logo. There's a word mark, an icon. Like you can break everything apart down to these niche words, but the brand itself it is what you were just saying. It's like you take this concept of ideas and you form a business around it. And then you have to use these very consistent and precise strategy measures then to make that work. Now, if you put that framework in and you name it this and you visually brand it with an image, then now you've got a logo and a brand strategy that will take any business forward. So it is like the anti-branding branding where like everything that you are saying is absolutely correct. That you have to have all these very strategic things in place, but where the consumers get hung up is on like this one thing, like this logo has to be perfect, or my one website has to be perfect. Those are what I like to inform, like call as the imperfect actions, because if you don't take those actions, you don't take those steps, then you don't have a business. Yep. So like you were saying, those things don't matter if it's between you getting off the ground and not getting off the ground.
Yes.
But the framework itself matters.
That is definitely like the core of my message is come on. If it's going to take us 9 months to get the logo right, but we can produce something that is passable during month 1, then
direct. Absolutely.
It's 8 months of loss. And we have to account for the 8 months of loss.
Time is money.
Yeah.
Time is money.
The amount of customers that you get to produce just by having it exist. And this is something that I think gets overlooked. And I really love that you said consistently showing up, the history, because there are customers that I've gotten because I'm just existing and still existing.
Yeah.
And that's some of the stuff that like, I think sometimes as businesses, we don't really like to talk about, but like people show up and they're like, I've had people come to me. I just went back and I looked and you had 500 lives. So I assumed you knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. So this is what I tell anybody who's willing to listen. And is there one thing that you can do for your business that takes you a very minimal amount of time, but if you did it every day after years of doing it would show you exponential growth? And that's just create content. For real. Get a blog. Just create something and just do it every day, because no matter what happens, you are going to get better at it. It itself is going to evolve into something better and bigger. And the history of doing it comes back to really matter.
And I think the challenge here sometimes is the getting out of our own way.